All right, guys, welcome back. I have my good friend Erich Pratt from Gun Owners of America. How you doing, Eric?
Hey, doing real well, Tim. It's fantastic to be with you again. Thanks
Yeah,
for having me.
it's always a pleasure, man, and I always enjoy the pre-show chat time that we have, and we're testing all the connections and stuff. It's always good to catch up with you and kind of hear what's going on Capitol Hill because I know, man, I mean, if anybody's in the thick of it, it's you. And you guys reached out to me and wanted to do a state of the second, so we got some pretty good information out there. I think that we were chatting about pre-show, and I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit. So first of all, I just want to let everybody watching know that we have we have super chats enabled, and if you guys do super chats, we send that money to GOA. So anytime we do a Gun Owners of America live stream, you do a super chat, we'll be able to see your question. We'll do everything we can to get to it. We're going to try to keep this to 30 or 45 minutes because Eric has other obligations. I mean, you're talking about a guy that does the national circuits on all the major news networks, and he peels off time to talk to us. So I don't want to encroach on that time too much. But if you do a super chat, I'll see it. And we'll try to answer that question and know that the money is going to support the GOA. Okay? So, Eric, with all that said, man, what do we have going on? Let's talk about the Canterbury thing, because this is a big one for me, man. So in case people don't know, Trump was trying to put forth his ATF director pick, which is this guy named Canterbury, and I looked into his past, and this guy is staunchly anti-gun. So what's going on with him?
Well, I think right now we're in a good place. His nomination has been stalled because there were four prominent Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee who just simply were not willing to support him. And, you know, I will tell you quite honestly, that is a result of grassroots activism. I think number one, I think also seeing number two, what's happened with William Barr, because we went through this with William Barr and we warned Republicans and we had grassroots folks contact their senators, and I think that there was just a state of disbelief, that he could really be as bad as we were saying, and now we know he was as bad as we were saying. I mean, William Barr, our Attorney General, has been basically a lobbyist for gun control, literally walking the halls of the Senate, meeting with senators and encouraging them to support universal background checks. So anyway, with Canterbury as head of the ATF, did the same drill and literally got hundreds of thousands of grassroots messages pouring into Republican offices. And it has resonated with them. They have heard you. And so four of them have said that they will not, that they cannot support him. That's Mike Lee of Utah, who's a very staunch pro-gun senator, Josh Hawley of Missouri, John Kennedy of Louisiana, and Ben Sasse of Nebraska. So those four, and I'm not giving anything away. I mean, that's not private information. That their names have been printed, in the media. So it's not like we're outing them.
No, but
by
they need to
showing
be
their
congratulated.
opposition.
I mean,
Yes.
their names should be known in the Second Amendment community because they stood up. And like you said, guys, this is why grassroots activism is so important. When GOA sends out email alerts and they have a link and you can go to their website and you can fill out a form, it's critical. Use that tool. Write your own emails to your senators and your representatives because, believe it or not, it really works. And this is a shining example of what you guys did. You stopped so far this appointment of a staunchly anti-gun ATF director. And I'll tell you from other people that I know in the industry, the ATF has been on the warpath lately. They've been doing a lot of stuff and talking about a lot of stuff that would grossly infringe on our rights. And that has to do with everything from braces to other things. And so it is absolutely critical we keep this Canterbury guy out of that office.
And let me just say, Tim, we're not out of the woods yet. There were initial reports that the president was going to withdraw the nomination, and maybe they were considering that. But as of now, that's not the route they're going. In fact, they've said that they're going to double down, make phone calls to the Senate, do the arm twisting or offering, deals with Senate. You know how this kind of game is played.
Right?
The politics of it. So that's why it's really important, especially to keep congratulating and encouraging those 4 senators that I just mentioned. In fact, we've got an alert on the top of our website where you can, I mean, you won't even be sending it to your own senator. It's just gun owners from all over the country sending messages to those 4 and just thanking them so that they know that they've got the whole country behind them. Because let's face it, they're going to come under a lot of heat from the White House. And so we need to keep bucking them up and letting them know, no, you're doing the right thing.
Yep.
We want you to dig in your heels because this guy, I mean, let's just talk about what he favors. He favors red flag gun confiscation orders, which right there, I mean, that's a huge problem. He's told the Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee that he's willing to work with them to craft legislation. And, I mean, Tim, that, with these red flag laws, I mean, your guns can be taken from you just, if they think that you're a threat, which means that, anybody who's scared of guns can make a false allegation against you. I mean, we live in a society, I mean, we've seen, where kids are suspended from school because they post online a picture of their going to the range or
with a dead deer that they just harvested while hunting. I've seen that happen.
Yeah, or they bite a Pop-Tart into the shape of a gun. I mean,
Right.
we live in this snowflake society where people are just scared at the sight of an AR-15 on a T-shirt or something like that. So, I mean, with that kind of fear that people, I mean, heck, there have even been cases where police officers eating at restaurants have been asked to put their guns in their car.
That's
I mean,
recently. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's how insane this has gotten. And so, you can just imagine weaponizing, so to speak, that type of fear so that a person can make an allegation against you and get your guns confiscated. This is very dangerous. And sadly, 17 states have adopted them already.
Yeah.
And we've already seen, certainly in one notable case in Maryland where it led to the shooting and the death of an innocent man who was falsely accused. So this is a huge problem. Having Canterbury be confirmed would be a tremendous problem. So anyway, we just need to keep up the heat.
Yeah. And he would be more than just red flag issues. He would have, a cascading effect upon all the things ATF's currently taking a look at right now. Like I said, braces and other things. He would have a very negative influence on those decisions right now that ATF is toying with. So we got to keep him out of there because right now we're dealing with an agency that is actually acting with executive fiat and what they did with the bump stocks, for example, which were challenging in court. He can do more things like that. We heard Trump say, I don't like those suppressors. We're going to get rid of those suppressors. Well, he, as ATF director, can do something just like they did with the bump stocks and do the exact same thing to suppressors.
Bingo.
That's exactly what you and I warned about 2 years ago or a year ago when this whole bump stock thing started. We were telling people It's not about the stocks. It's about what they're doing, and they're going to continue to do it. And this is the guy that's going to facilitate that.
Well, and consider you've got all these Democrat candidates for president who are talking about, mandatory gun buybacks, which of course is just code for gun confiscation. And
How does the government buy back something they never had to begin with?
They never had to begin with. That's the ultimate in socialism. But then you've got guys like Biden and others who are talking about taking AR-15s and putting them into the NFA. So I mean, just what you were saying about bump stocks, how administratively doing something. Here, Canterbury has said he's open to supporting a so-called assault weapons ban.
Assault weapons ban, absolutely, he said that. Yep, I was going to say that as well.
So this is not good. I mean, he's you just look at the people he's supported, like Sonia Sotomayor and Eric for Supreme Court and Eric Holder for Attorney General. No. So anyway, a lot of reasons that we should be opposing him.
Had a super chat pop in here really quick. Any word on the SCOTUS has decided to moot the NYRPA versus NY case? That's code to me.
Yeah, the latest that we have is December 2nd. They're going to be hearing arguments. So, unless something recently has been decided that I hadn't heard about, December 2nd is the day. And we have our brief before the Supreme Court. So we're really looking forward to this and very excited about it.
Good. And speaking of that, now I believe there was a court case that you guys are also actively involved in California. Do you want to give a quick update on that?
Absolutely, yeah. That's the Duncan versus Becerra case, which involves their ban on magazines. In 2000, California banned magazines, although they grandfathered the they banned magazines that holding 10 or more rounds, but they grandfathered them. Well, in 2016, and this just shows the slippery slope of gun control, which we see all the time. They had a Proposition 63, which banned magazines entirely. Well, thankfully, there was a district judge who blocked enforcement of the ban. And of course, as you can imagine, California is appealing that judge's decision. They even have 18 Democrat attorney generals from all across the country, from, the who's who of liberal states, supporting California. I feel bad for you guys behind enemy lines, although we may be there soon in Virginia. It's going very blue very fast. But anyway,
It's
that's another
scary.
matter.
It's
Yeah.
scary, man. They very well could flip, Virginia. They could flip Florida. All these.
It's that close. Yeah, these the elections in Virginia next month are going to be huge, really important. But anyway, so we submitted a brief in support of blocking the ban as well. And look, we make the point. The Second Amendment is, while sure it's about self-defense, but it's not just about self-defense against petty criminals. It's about self-defense against a tyrannical government. And so that's the point we make in this brief as to why these magazines should be legal, why they shouldn't be banned, and why a ban like this would be so pernicious.
And yes, Beto. That means if you come for our AR-15s, bad things could happen. That's because our AR-15s and everything else that we own is because our founding fathers put the full power of government in the hands of we the people. Read your history book, Beto, whatever you call yourself. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, I just couldn't believe he went out there and was like, yes, we are going to take your AR-15s. We're going to take your AK-47s. It's like, man, somebody needs to read a history book.
And now, like lemmings being let off a cliff. I mean, almost every single Democrat candidate has just jumped in line. Even Biden recently with Anderson Cooper supporting, confiscation of certain firearms. I think Tulsi Gabbard's probably the only one I've heard, even though she does support a lot of different gun control proposals. I haven't yet heard her advocate gun confiscation, but I think almost every other one has.
It seems like the Democratic candidates, when they get on stage together, they keep pushing each other further and further left. It's like they're trying to out-socialize each other. It's like,
That's exactly right.
Do you support, universal health care for illegal immigrants? Let's see a show of hands. Yeah. Do you just want to tear down the borders and just make, Mexico and America and Canada and Japan and Eastern Europe and Western Europe all just one big state? Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's just like, good Lord, it's like they're just trying to outdo each other. And what's weird about that is, and you know this as well as I do, if you go back in Biden's history, he wasn't always staunchly anti-gun.
Right.
He was more centrist and more in the middle. He's been pushed further and further off the left side of the spectrum by the other candidates on stage. It's like, good grief, they're like, just it's something in the water, man, because they have just gone. If you would have told me the conversations that they were having on the stages during these debates for the Democratic ticket, if you would have told me what they would be talking about and what they would be saying and what they would be supporting 10 years ago, I'd say that's a bad fiction novel. I wouldn't even read it because it would be unbelievable. Yet that's what they're running on. Let's just shred the Second Amendment. Let's get rid of the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth while we're at it because those are annoying. And then let's talk about the First. You remember, who was it? Was it Clinton that said, during elections, we need to stop the media from talking about candidates 4 months before a national election?
Right.
Like, seriously? Oh, anyway, sorry, I get wound up. We see, now you have a camera and you can actually see me and I go completely off the charts.
But
anyway.
You make a great point. I mean, with the infringements that they're advocating for the Second Amendment isn't going to end simply with that amendment.
No.
It is going to spill over into the other freedoms that we enjoy, and really
Yes.
that are God-given rights that we enjoy. And so you're right. I mean, they've gone after the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, and now due process with these red flag laws.
Right.
I mean, it's just. I mean,
That's
they
fourth,
really
fifth,
are
sixth,
petty
second.
tyrants.
They just want
Yes.
to take the Bill of Rights and it's like, well, let's just cut it in half here. And then once the second falls, we all know this, the rest of them fall soon thereafter. Because,
That's right.
again, the Second Amendment puts the power of government in the hands of the people. And that's not a radical idea. I'm not some lunatic that needs a red flag law imposed against him because I said that. I'm no more radical than our founding fathers because they're the ones that did it. They're the ones that wrote the document, and they're the ones that explained it, in great detail in things like the Federalist Papers and elsewhere. So I don't know. History isn't history anymore. It's completely revised. I wanted to point out that before I go completely off the scale of craziness here, we have a super chat, and this is an important point we were talking about. We have a 2A rally in D.C. November 2nd, and come stand with us. I'm trying desperately to get there. It was given to me at such short notice. I'm going to do everything I can to be there, but Eric, you're going to be there, and I believe you're going to speak, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I will be there. I'll be speaking. So look forward to meeting any of your audience that comes. Look forward to meeting you guys. Tim, hopefully you can make it. Love to see you again. So yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a good, encouraging time for folks to get together. Obviously it's going to be on a Saturday, so you're not going to have the Congress there. And, that's maybe one drawback to the timing, although quite frankly, it's hard to pull people from all across the country and come midweek. So I get that. I love the way, by the way, for example, here in Virginia, how the state organization VCDL does it, because you're just pulling from a state. When they have these lobby days, they do it in the middle of a week, and they will have a rally, but then they send their everybody out into the offices to go lobby their legislators. Mm-hmm. And so it's a fantastic way to, hey, you're not just kind of patting yourself on the back and just, preaching to the choir, right. But you're also doing something that's really effective. I mean, obviously that's not going to be possible on a national basis with the Congress, but anyway, I definitely wouldn't replace contacting your congressmen and your senators, thinking that just by traveling to D.C., that's the extent of your civic duty. I mean, we really need to keep the heat on these guys. So,
absolutely. Every day, set a reminder in your phone. Send an email, make a phone call, do something to defend your rights, because really it's that simple. And I hear so many times people say, oh, they don't listen, they don't pay attention, they don't care. That is so opposite, because I've talked to many representatives. I tell you who gave me a phone call, Dan Crenshaw. And Dan Crenshaw called me because of what people were saying on the internet, because people were reaching out to him about his position on red flag laws. So why do you think Dan reached out to me?
Yep.
And I had a great conversation with him. And he is definitely on our side of the thinking. I'm just trying to persuade him, to our way of thinking with regards to the red flag laws. And he just wanted to have a conversation. He has not supported one and has not voted for one. But why do you think he did that? It's because not just me, it's because of the people watching this video right now, and other people reached out to him via social media, via email, via phone calls, that he's reaching out to people like myself, trying to figure out how he can right things and square things with the community. And that's because it works. And
Tim, interesting point on that. I'm glad you brought up Crenshaw. I mean, obviously, I go to meetings up on Capitol Hill, and one of the astounding things was hearing offices say, oh, yeah, we don't want to touch those red flags because we don't want to have happen to us what happened to Crenshaw. Mm-hmm. Wow. So in other words, not only did Crenshaw get the point and feel the heat, it had a ripple effect that other people up there on Capitol Hill were watching what was happening to him and saying, boy, we don't want that happening to us. That was one of the best things that could have happened. Just, the outpour, when Crenshaw made statements sounding like he was in favor of red flag laws.
Right.
And the reaction that poured out against him on that, and I think a lot of it was done very respectfully, but still, it was a lot of reaction against what he said. Others on Capitol Hill were
He gets
watching.
it. He gets it. And he assured me that he was not going to vote for any red flag law that was being proposed. And he hasn't. He's kept his word. But you're right. See, and that's why I never want to hear somebody say to us again, oh, it doesn't work. They don't read my emails. They don't care what you post on their Instagram page. They most certainly do. And what you just told me is really, that warms my heart to know that they're saying, wow, man, we don't want to even touch that one because look what happened over here. That's why it's so critical you reach out to your representatives, because they do listen. Why do they listen? Because they depend on your vote to keep their job, and they want to keep their job and their power. So anyway, thank you. Man. That's awesome to hear. That I didn't know.
And one more, story kind of in that I can't say what office this is because we really can't kiss and tell, so to speak. But
sure.
I was meeting with a very high-ranking office, and they told us point blank. They said gun control would have already been a done deal, except that the outpouring from gun owners has been so loud, and you guys have put so much heat on legislators, it has slowed things down. And so that's just, that's testimony from folks who are on the inside. And that's really important because the media puts tremendous pressure. And I heard that part too. I heard, good guys saying, we just feel like we have to do something. And that was the media pressure. But then on the other hand, there was the pushback. And that's why, remember back in August, the Democrats were so loudly saying, an immediate vote now, call Congress back into session, because they wanted to slam it through before our guys had the opportunity, because there's that initial slam by the media, and it takes us, there's a lag time before our guys get up and running and really putting the heat on. Now, since then, we've generated more than 3 million messages into Republican offices. I mean, it's been huge, because we're able to track it. I mean, that is a huge number. And so they here again, they have heard from people. They're hearing you loud and clear. And, while, I wish it would translate into pushing something like concealed carry reciprocity, I'm just glad to see that at least for now, they're trying to spike it and kill it and squash it, and the anti-gun legislation. So anyway, so I think we're in a good place. Not to say that we need to let up, but I think
keep the
finally
pressure up.
We need to keep the pressure on. But I think that immediate danger of them coming back and slamming something through. Thankfully, that's behind us now.
Yep, and it's all because of those of you watching right now and everybody else, because you took action. Don't think for a second that your voice isn't heard. It absolutely is. And if we stop saying things, if we stop writing those messages and making those phone calls and making those social media posts, then this stuff easily passes in the middle of the night, and we wake up one day and we have another assault weapons ban. You got to stay on top of it. We have a super chat here from Peter. And he says, have we had an increase in GOA membership this year? I want to say yeah, right?
Yes. Oh, yes, we have. In fact, I think when I first came on your show, Tim, what was it, a couple years ago? Mm-hmm. Maybe it was last year, beginning of last year. I don't remember. But anyway,
we're coming up on 2 years that we've been working together.
On 2 years? Okay. So we were at 1.5 million. So we're well over 2 million now. So yeah, we've had a definite upsurge, at every level. So, and just on that, let me just, thank you, Tim. Those of you who are listening, thank you guys so much for joining up with us, because I can't reiterate this enough. We're up there in D.C., meeting with these folks, but that alone is not what's killing this legislation. It's not our good looks, certainly not that. We're not allowed to wine and dine them. So that's not even an option. So it's definitely not that. It's, the more people we have with us, the louder voice we have. And man, is it resonating there. So I really want to thank you, Tim, for just all the memberships that you've generated towards us. That's been incredible, and just thank your audience. Thank you guys. I mean, maybe those of you who've signed up already on the show today, but certainly in the past, it's been fantastic. It's just allowed us to do so much more. So thank you very much.
There's a link down below, guys. Follow that link to join the GOA. I don't take a cut. I pay every month to be a GOA member. And like I said, all of you doing super chats on this video right now, the super chat money goes directly to support the GOA. So we try to do everything we can. We do it at Copper Custom. We do it, personally, and we try to do everything we can to help support them. And their membership is growing, and their influence is tremendous on the Hill. A lot of people think that there's only one organization that has any influence on the Hill, and I'll tell you right now, that's absolutely not true at all. Their GOA, I would say, is probably more feared than any other gun rights organization on the Hill. So let's see. We have another super chat, and it says, can we remove sovereign immunity from legislators in order to make them personally liable for passing unconstitutional laws if they fail to do their diligence in ensuring constitutionality? Well, that's what's funny, man. So legislators do enjoy quite a bit of immunity from their actions, even though they take an oath of office to swear to uphold and defend the Constitution. Then they immediately get in office and they start doing everything they can to destroy the Constitution. They do everything they can not to uphold it. So that's kind of a weird dichotomy, man. I mean, how does that work? Is there anything we can do
honestly, the best thing we can do is vote them out of office. I mean, you mentioned the Constitution, and actually the Constitution has in it, in Article 1, a speech and debate clause, which protects the congressman in expressing their views and their votes. So, and given the alternatives, that's actually a good thing,
right,
that they can be, because to not have that protection could be greatly abused. However, we the people have the ultimate. We hand them the pink slip, and that's the thing. And of course, that raises then a whole nother thing about the electorate, and you could go down so many different roads with that, and what's happening in the public schools, and the shaming, if you have a hold to pro-gun views. And so, I recognize that that's a big monster of a topic, but
yeah,
let's just face it. I mean, what we're doing in Washington is only part of the battle. I mean, there's a fight for the heart of society, and just in maintaining our values that we have to be really diligent with and involved with. And that's in part why we do Tim, why you're doing what you're doing with educating, and we have our own process for educating people, but it's a big battle. But I would just say this: do what you can control, and that is you can show up to vote. And you can get, I'm a grandfather. I don't have any grandkids who are able to vote yet, but I make sure that my kids and spouses get to the polls. And if they can't, I've got some who are in school. I get them absentee ballots. So in other words, you do what you can, do what what's under your umbrella of control. And, because we can't worry about the things that we can't control.
Right. I totally agree with that. And one thing I always thought was interesting that I thought was weird. Do you remember after Obamacare passed, then we had legislators that were exempting their staff from Obamacare after they voted to support it? Now, that isn't a criminal act. We're going to pass a law, impose it on you as Americans, but then we're going to exempt ourselves from the law that we passed. That's like saying we're going to ban guns. Meanwhile, we're going to keep our armed protection detail to protect us.
That is what they do.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like we're going to ban guns. Oh, but by the way, we're going to keep ours. No, not in a free country, and that's not what our founding fathers envisioned.
Nope.
All righty. So I'm just trying to roll through some super chats here. I'm just popping them up. We're getting a lot of thank yous, a lot of support. People asking me to run for office. That will never happen. Thank you, though, for the vote of confidence. I think I'm more suited to being the rebel rouser outside, trying to get people to vote and people motivated, than actually being in office. I'd probably get impeached pretty quickly by the other side, given what I see they do to other people of my mindset. Let's see. let's see, $2 from mandatory carry, hashtag annex Mexico. All right, let's see. I don't know if Mexico wants to be annexed by us. I don't think we can just go around annexing countries. Okay. Super chat. Let's see. Recently bought a used NFA silencer. It took us a 10.6 ounce of paperwork for a 3-person trust. Still waiting, and I know you know. Yeah, man, that's a joke. This is kind of funny, and just kind of go off in the weeds here for a second. So with the NFA, you have to apply for permission to own this item, pay a $200 tax. That's Jim Crow, if I've ever seen a law that was unconstitutional. And then pay $200 tax to get permission from the government. Then it's all done by paperwork in 2019. When every other agency has gone digital, when I go check my deer in now, I don't have to take it to a check-in station. I get online and check it in online, but still the BATF is doing paperwork and losing paperwork left, right, and sideways, and still taking a year to process it. I mean, it's done by design to harass gun owners. Just know that.
Well, and then we've heard from people that they had started accepting electronic signatures, but then I guess reversed that decision afterwards and rejected the electronic signatures.
Can't make it too easy, man.
Yeah, I mean, you can open a bank account or buy a house with electronic signatures. The IRS will accept it, your tax return with an electronic signature, but not the ATF.
Nope. No, because they want to harass you. All 9 agents that are assigned to handle 300,000 pieces of paperwork. It's just unbelievable. Somebody says that we need to go on the offensive and get our rights back. We seem to always be in react mode. You're absolutely right. And this is something that we've both been advocating for, Eric and I. And this is something that we really kind of hoped for with the Trump administration coming in saying 8-year assault on your rights is over.
Right.
We thought, here's our opportunity. We got 4, maybe 8 years to not just stop anti-gun laws from passing new ones, but to turn the clock back on all those unconstitutional laws we already live under. And that dream kind of got squashed because Trump hasn't done anything pro-gun in 3 years. Matter of fact, he's done more anti-gun stuff than Obama, and I hate to give Obama credit, but Obama did give us national carry with our concealed weapons. He gave us at least one pro-gun piece of legislation, and I'm not praising him. What's Trump done for us? Banned bump stocks, talked about banning silencers, and wants to put up Canterbury as the ATF director? Yeah, Republicans aren't your friends. Every major anti-gun law that has gone into effect since I've been alive, for the most part, with the exception of the 94 ban, which sunset in 2004, was passed and signed into law by a Republican president. They're not going to save you. Stop thinking the Republicans are our friends. When there's a Republican in office, we need to be even harder on them because they will put the screws to us just like the Democrats will. Neither party has a monopoly on grabbing our rights.
Yeah, just within the last week and a half, right before the impeachment talks started, it was reported that Trump was meeting with Joe Manchin, senator of West Virginia, to discuss his gun control proposals. So, I mean, he's definitely pushing it. He has done a couple things like removing us from the UN treaty, and that was a good thing. And he signed the repeal of the Social Security, Obama's attack on Social Security recipients and banning them.
And the mandate and stuff. Yeah, I'm not saying that Trump's done all bad things. What I'm saying is that Republicans, with regards to our Second Amendment rights, you can't trust them.
No,
you can't just assume because they're Republican they're going to save us. They're not. Yeah,
like you said, we got Fix NICS, which didn't fix NICS, and is banning more people from owning firearms. Bump stocks, which you mentioned, and then just the advocating for gun control that's come from the White House. That's been the most distressing thing. Rather than I like the campaigning Trump that would say things like, we need more bullets flying back at the bad guys.
Right.
I was in a meeting at the White House and I challenged them. I said, that's the Trump we need to hear. Right. That's what you guys need to be pushing, is repealing the gun-free zones and pushing reciprocity. We need more good people shooting back at the bad guys, which is not a radical idea since your boss advocated that. That's the guy we want to see come back. And, they were just like scribbling notes at that point.
What's funny is they think we're a bunch of radicals, and the funny thing is we're not the radicals. We're no more radical than our
No.
founding fathers. We're the pure constitutionalists. We're the ones standing up in
Yeah.
the room saying, guys, you can't do this. And then they want to they want to label us domestic terrorists, and they want to label us radicals and all this other stuff. And it's just mind blowing because our founding fathers, I guess, then were domestic terrorists and all the other stuff that they want to label us with, because all we're doing is trying to uphold what they tasked us with protecting. If our
Yeah.
founding fathers were alive today, they'd hang most of us for treason because of what we've done. Seriously, look what we've done to their work. We've destroyed it. And you and I are advocating for getting it back, and so are many, millions of others Americans. And we do need to stand up and say, hey, not only are we sick of the new anti-gun laws, no, but we need to start talking about getting rid of some of these other gross infringements like the NFA.
Right.
But I mean, that's a
Absolutely.
tough discussion to have on Capitol Hill, but it still needs to be had. You can't shy
Yep.
away from it because it's a hard battle. If every battle was easy, you'd win every war, I guess. Let's see. We had a super chat come in that says ATF policy change implemented mid-August of 19, rejecting silencer shops submitted forms for unapproved signature, and it's retroactive, 10 months waiting and told to start over. I didn't know that. We had a silencer shop kiosk at Copper. Is that what
Yeah,
happened?
well, that's what I was referring to
Yeah,
earlier. And we've started hearing from folks who are dealing with this. This is the problem with treating our rights as privileges. I mean, you give government bureaucrats the ability to slow walk the exercise of our rights. And yeah, there's just so much work to repeal, as you know, Tim. So much work to do.
It is. It's almost too much to. I mean, it's such an insurmountable task, but it seems like we just keep passing it down to the next generation, just kicking that bucket down the line, and it just one thing I always tell people is that it's easier to stop a law from becoming law than it
Yes.
is to undo a law that passes and is signed into law.
That's right.
And the anti-gunners are very brilliant in their strategy because they're playing a long game. They know if they can incrementally take bits and pieces of our rights, people born today will never miss what they never had. I remember machine guns hanging on the wall being for sale, and people born today never knew that, so they'll never miss it and they'll never fight to have it back. Right? And that's the insidious strategy that the anti-gunners are using against us, and they're being successful. Because I get into arguments with people on Instagram when I say repeal the NFA, and I have people that claim to be of the gun saying, we'll have running machine gun battles in the streets. I'm like, do you understand that's the same argument that the anti-gunners used against us when we were trying to get concealed carry in all 50 states?
That's
that there's
right.
going to be running gun battles? And you had some really interesting statistics pre-show about what the FBI has to say about long arm deaths, AR-15s and everything assorted, long arm, not just AR-15s, but long arms in general. What were you talking about there?
Yeah, so the FBI just published their reports here this week, and so all rifle deaths are down to 297. Now that's all rifle deaths, but that's with all the mass killings that have been reported. Now this obviously is for 2018, but the number of rifle deaths are down. And so you're 5 times more likely to be stabbed to death. You're about twice as likely to be just killed with fists
Hands
or
and
feet.
Yep.
Hands and feet. Yeah. Another interesting little tidbit from the FBI reports is looking at the state section, and the safest 6 states, or the 6 states with the lowest murder rates, 4 of them are constitutional carry states. So, the very thing you were saying, the fear mongering, people are going to be shooting each other in the streets if you don't require people to get a permit. Well, first of all, bad guys never bothered to get the permit.
No.
So, that didn't work anyway. It was only it was only bothering us, the good people. It was only infringing our rights. And but anyway, so now you have 17 states with constitutional carry, and 4 of them are in the bottom 6. So that's just fantastic news. Shows it's not causing these running gun battles.
And the media has everybody convinced, including poor old Beto, that you're just in imminent danger if you step outside of your house of some madman with the AR-15 killing you, when in reality, you're more likely to be beaten to death by somebody at the grocery store with hands and feet. Infinitely. Well, let's say twice as likely, right? And
Right.
then of those long arm deaths where guns are misused, long arms, rifles, what percentage of those are AR-15s? It's a fraction.
Yeah.
But yet the media wants everybody to believe the AR-15 is America's enemy. We gotta
Right.
ban them so we can save those 300 people. More people are going to trip and fall down the stairs this week and die than will be killed by an AR-15 in the United States. You're more likely to drown in your swimming pool, and I'm not making these
Yes.
statistics up. So
Right.
it's just unbelievable. VSO Gun Channel, great channel, guys. If you don't follow him, please do. Keep up the heat, folks, and become Hong Kong. Isn't that ironic? Isn't that ironic? Hong Kong wants a Second Amendment, and those brave protesters are fighting for liberties that we've long since lost, but they're still holding up the American flag as a dream that we're trying to resecure, a dream that we fight every day to hold on to ourselves. And these folks in Hong Kong are using America, the dream of America, as their inspiration as they fight for freedom against a communist regime. And I feel bad for them because I don't think they understand just how far we've fallen, and how the communists are running for office right now as we speak in the United States openly. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. So anyway, sorry, didn't mean to get off on that tangent. I try not to go too political, but communism I can't abide. All right, so it's the whole reason I joined the military. Let's see, we had a super chat here. Senator Mike Braun also supports and praises red flag laws. We need to go all out and let him understand that how we feel about this. Also, I'm sorry, I don't have my reading glasses on, and the font's like this big. But okay, Senator Mike Braun, we got to go after him for his red flag laws. We'll do a couple more super chats here. Eric, is there anything else that you had from a list of things that you wanted to chat about this evening, or?
No, I think this is good. I mean, I think a lot of the offensive battles are going to happen in the states. Florida, for the first time ever, at least that I'm aware of, actually has a constitutional carry bill that's been introduced. It's been pre-filed. So we're very excited about that. We're going to be pushing that real hard come January. We've got a great governor that was GOA backed, Ron DeSantis, and so he would sign that into law. He's fantastic on the Second Amendment issue. Heck, he sacked Steve Israel as soon as he came into office. Of course, he was the sheriff of in the Parkland area. Anyway, we're looking forward to that and some other offensive battles. A lot of them will come at the states. So those will be things that we'll be able to talk about, and obviously in upcoming months. But things to look forward to. We've got a lot of things cooking in the courts, and so we're busy there. We've got our bump stock case, which oral arguments will be in the Sixth Circuit Court later this month, and Tim, I'm sure everybody in your audience knows you're a plaintiff with us in that case, so we greatly appreciate that. There's the New York case in December, of course, the California case that we were talking about earlier. So all that's going on, but probably, the best thing, just in terms of, what can, if people are asking, what can I do? If you go to our website at gunowners.org, you sign up for our email alerts if you're not getting our email alerts. And that's how we mobilize people. It's free to get on it. And we just want to have that army. And, usually, I mean, well, lately there's been so much going on. I mean, we might have a couple different alerts in a week. Typically we'd like to only have one, but when your rights are under attack, you got to mobilize, right? And so anyway, that's what's making such a fantastic difference. So just encourage people to sign up there for the alerts.
This is something I thought was pretty interesting. People were asking about the ATF in another lawsuit, saying, and maybe they even mentioned it in our lawsuit, it was part of their argument, that the ATF saying that they had no legal reason or had no legal standing, basically, to ban bump stocks. Do you remember that came out in the news? I believe somebody
Yes.
else's lawsuit.
and actually they've basically conceded that in every suit that they've been a part of, that right, that they don't have the authority to do that, but that Congress has given them the ability to apply the law, and that this is the best interpretation of the law. Of course, what's so ironic about that is that for 10 years, they had the exact opposite interpretation of that. So why was that not the best interpretation? And, now we're supposed to believe them that, oh, now they have the best interpretation. So it wasn't really an earth-shattering thing, even though I know a lot of articles made it seem that way. I honestly wish it would have been more significant than it was. I don't know how much that's going to. Well, it's not undercutting so far what they've been arguing, because they've won in a lot of the different districts where they're at. The judges are buying basically giving them a lot of deference. One of the reasons why we're in the Sixth Circuit is because that's been a circuit of judges that has actually been very skeptical of giving deference to administrative agencies to just plot ahead and make applications that are far afield from the law. And so that's one of the reasons why we're actually excited to be in that Sixth Circuit. So anyway, we'll find out soon if we can convince these. Tim, you've read our brief. I mean, you read the brief, and it's like, this makes so much sense. This should be a slam dunk. But, quite honestly, judges are human, and they're just as political as legislators, to be quite frank. And so, that's the difficulty in it, is that, they come with their own presuppositions and biases. And so even though, we're arguing the Constitution and we're arguing the law, you're not punching the information into a computer. It's humans that are filtering this through their own biases, and they have their own concerns about increased rate of fire. I mean, that's one of the things that we had to deal with in one of our earlier oral arguments in court, is knocking that down, that's not the standard, increased rate of fire. I mean, that's not what the law is. And yet that's something that really seems to resonate with these judges, like, that's what's, really at stake here.
Right. And that's where the deference thing comes in, right? So we're going to just allow some agency say, well, if you fire more than 3 rounds in 30 seconds, then that technically classifies as a machine gun. Based on what? Show us that in the law. But that's what deference is. Congress can pass an ambiguous law, and then it goes to this agency that gets to enforce it, and they can just make up things on a whim. And whatever they make up carries the weight of law. So when they say, well, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and ban that accessory, we happen to rule 4 times previously was perfectly legal, and we technically have no right to have any authority over accessories. We only have authority over firearms per the law, but we're just going to go ahead and ban that anyway without an act of Congress. That's the whole deference thing, and that's a much bigger argument that the SCOTUS and a lot of other people are looking at, that are like really nervous about taking it on, because if they decide deference is a bad thing, that could undo a whole bunch of stuff.
It sure could. Yeah, so this is actually a very important case that we're involved in, because it's part of that argument, which Supreme Court actually may be hopefully coming down and considering the whole deference argument in future cases, and really undoing a lot of things. At least that's the hope.
Let's hope, man, because that would be a big win for us. It'd be a big win for all Americans, no matter what you believe. It's not just a Second Amendment thing. It's a everything thing. All right. Well, hey guys, we really appreciate you tuning in this evening and taking a moment to listen to what we had to say. Erich, it's always a pleasure having you on the show, man. And guys, if you would please like and share this video. It is so critical. There's so much good information in this particular video, things that I learned, and just have your friends watch it, even if you want to take bits and pieces of it and cut it up and post it to your social media outlets. Please do, because the important part here is getting the message out. And one of the biggest things I think that we covered in this video this evening is your voices are being heard.
Yes.
It's working. that we talked about the whole Dan Crenshaw thing and how that had rippling effects on Capitol Hill. That's all because of what you're doing. Erich, thank you so much, my friend. Is there how can people find you on the internet, and how can they support Gun Owners of America, which I support 100%?
Well, and thank you for that, Tim, so much. And to those of you in the audience who already are, gunowners.org, and there's the regular basic membership of $20 a year, Patriot membership, where it's a monthly contribution, or life membership, $500. So,
Do the Patriot membership, guys. That's what I do. And it's for the price of a couple of Starbucks cups of coffee. And I know most of you hate Starbucks because you're Second Amendment guys, but literally for the price of a couple of cups of coffee, and you get to pick your amount. But seriously, they could use the money. So it goes to a good cause. It's not going to buy Lear jets and mansions. It's going straight to Capitol Hill to make sure that your rights are being fought for. All right, guys, if you would like to join the GOA, I have a link down below. Please follow that link. I make no money from that link. All that does is let GOA know that you joined because you follow the link in the description below. And we greatly appreciate the 11 years of support. And Erich, we hope to have you back on the show soon. If anything pops up that we need to get out there to the people, please let me know. And you're always welcome on the show.
Will do. All right. Look forward to it, Tim. Thank you.
All right, man. We're going to close everything out, guys. We'll talk to you soon again. Thanks so much for the support. Bye.